Thank you for joining me for Season 1 of Cultivating Calm in the Classroom. This season has been a part of my capstone project for my Master's in Music Education at Belmont University. Created to support new and growing elementary music teachers as we build a sustainable, peaceful, and joyful classroom practices. As this season wraps up, my hope is to keep the conversation going. Future episodes will dive deeper into real-life challenges and celebrations of music educators, featuring interviews, practical strategies, and more opportunities to reflect and grow together. If this podcast has resonated with you, please take a moment to listen, share, and leave a review. And if you like to be a part of the conversation, share your own experiences. I would love to hear from you. Here's to more calm, more connection, and more music. Let's jump in. For this episode of Cultivating Calm in a Classroom, I would like to welcome Miss Anne-Marie Morris. She is a seasoned elementary music educator here in Nashville, Tennessee, with a degree in administration. So welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been in Nashville since 1991. Came here to go to Belmont University. And then just never left, fell in love with Nashville, started teaching right out of college and taught for several years and then had children. And so I taught privately at home and I got into the kinder music world for a season and then went back and I've been back in the public classroom 10 years. So, elementary music's my jam. That's what I love. And also thinking ahead of the future, which is what the administration degree is for. So maybe transition into arts administration or some kind of administration position in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've been talking about strategies for the first-year teacher. So I am happy to have you here, especially as possibly an admin who will be a proponent for the arts.
Champion.
Yes.
For the arts. Yes.
Because we need it, and especially our first-year teachers need it.
Absolutely.
So you've worked with a number of student teachers. What consistent challenges do you see most of them face?
Usually behavior management. Usually they know their content well, they know music well, they adapt to making lessons really well, but behavior is and I remember that as a first year teacher, and I think my supervising teacher said to me, if you cannot command their attention and keep their attention, you can't teach anything. So I think that's one thing that they really struggle with, but that's really what your student teaching experience is for, is to learn those behavior management techniques. Also, like appropriate lessons sometimes, that it takes them a while to figure out what's appropriate at this level. They're coming out of college, they've been studying at a high level, and then you've got to break it down on a young, especially elementary level. So that's a challenge. And then sometimes like their pacing, they can be slow and not keep the pacing going. So that's something we work on a lot. Yeah, that's student teaching experience.
I've seen the same thing with my student teachers as well. I think the behavior surprises them, especially if they did middle and high school first, and then coming in and having to herd kittens with 5-year-olds,
Yep.
So that's definitely a challenge.
Yes.
What is something about the elementary music classroom that surprises student teachers every time?
That children don't naturally listen to you. That you have to kind of command some kind of authority in the classroom. And they'll just start teaching and not really think about maybe giving explicit directions to the kids that they have to say, reiterate the rules, the expectations. And it takes time to develop a relationship with a class. And sometimes it takes them a little bit before they will give that kind of respect to someone new in the classroom. So I think that's surprising to them. Like, oh, children don't just listen we have to help them and set expectations and have routines in place to
Yes.
all of those things.
Yeah. I think one thing that I see every time is a student teacher will say, let's get in a circle. And I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen?
Yes.
Because they they just haven't had the experience to step one, stand up, step two, step forward,
Yes.
So it's always
every little step for elementary
Yeah.
kids until they get used to it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes second nature. But yeah.
I always tell them, you are now a broken record. You have to say things on repeat. Because, we'll be reflecting on a lesson and they'll say, but I said that. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
Say it 5 more times.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. So in this podcast, we touch a little on self-care and just emotional management. How do you help new teachers manage the emotional side of the job, especially like when they hit their first snag?
Yep. I think you have to hone in on what they're doing well. And you have to really, really encourage that because they'll get so discouraged by one thing going wrong. And just remind them you're new to this. This is new. You did XYZ so well. And so now let's think about strategies to help this. So I think it's really important to be encouraging. I want it to be an environment where most of the time what they're hearing from me is encouragement. And not, oh, you didn't do that right. Of course they didn't do that right. They don't know what they're doing. So you're applying. So, and just acknowledge that it's hard, it's new, and just encourage them to keep going, even when it's difficult, and try again.
Yeah.
Every class period's a new class period. That's the beauty, I think, of elementary music. You get another try the next day or the next hour. So, just to kind of help them build that resilience.
Yeah. I know you guys can't see this, but I'm giving all the snaps over here. I was going to say the same thing is, once you realize a lesson is a flop, that's the beauty of elementary because you have either 2 more days to do it or even the whole week. And hopefully it's encouraging for new teachers to know that even the seasoned teachers are still doing that.
Yes.
I always feel bad for my A group because if I'm teaching a lesson for the first time, then I'm making notes of, oh, that didn't work or this worked. And
yes.
So it's a process.
Definitely. Definitely.
Can you describe a time when a student teacher had a light bulb moment in your classroom and what sparked it?
So I had a student teacher that was so talented, but I think in a lot of ways he thought he had to be me, and I think they can fall into that, like they have to teach the way I teach. They have to, but really his gifts were different than mine. And so he was really creative and could create music. And so I think he finally saw that, and he had kind of a failure on a lesson one time because our tech went down. And then he had to think on his feet, and, you have to think on your feet very long. So that's hard. And it was kind of a disaster in his mind. It was not a disaster, but it felt like it to him. And then when he went to try again the next day, he went home and he wrote this song, and he, and he just owned it for him. And I think for him, he realized, yeah, I can do this, but I'm going to maybe do it in a different way than I've been watching her do it,
Yay.
So, yes. So to me, that was his big light bulb moment. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
But it is hard because you are emulating someone when you're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then you have to also find your bent, and when he found that, then he was more successful.
Yeah. Once this releases, you'll actually hear a whole episode on finding your teaching style and what that looks like at the beginning, because mimicking is a thing. That's where we start.
It is.
For sure. What do you wish more preparation programs emphasized before sending a student teacher into a classroom, other than copy machine 101?
Yes. I always do joke that I wish that they made music teachers take a sound class.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, the fact that sound falls on you for everything and everyone thinks you can run the sound
Nope,
system.
sure cannot.
It's so frustrating. But I wish I wish we did do something to help them a little bit. But really, classroom management techniques, I wish there was a way to kind of filter that in a little bit more into their pre-practicum situations, because I feel like they do come in with no skills on that. So I wish that was incorporated. A passion of mine is EL students, English as second language students. My school is heavily, 80% of my students are English as a second language. So they don't really know a lot about that and how to teach those students. Of course, they learn that when they're in my classroom, but that's a challenge. And I just wish they maybe got a little more practicum hours like classroom teachers do. Got more time in the classroom observing before they got to that student teaching piece, I think would make a huge difference.
Yeah. Thinking back to EL, I went to Marshall University in West Virginia, teeny tiny town. We didn't have any EL classes. And so when I came to Nashville, it was a culture shock for sure. And I didn't know how to teach via charades, but I learned very quickly. But yeah, all of those things I think would be extremely helpful.
Yes.
In your opinion, what's the difference between a student teacher who survives and one who thrives?
Yeah, mindset it's mindset. And so much of it is in their head. And we all still struggle with that as teachers. We all still have bad days, and you have to remind yourself, it was today. It just didn't go well today. But that willingness to fail and try again and not absorb all that failure into your brain and think, I'm not successful. No, that lesson wasn't successful. You have something to learn in here. So, and then the ones that can observe good teaching and apply it. Ones who can watch it and apply it, and ones that really seek out learning, seek out other teachers, and can apply it to practice. Those, to me, are the ones that survive, or thrive in the job. Yeah. Other than just surviving. So, it's really your mindset. You got to go in knowing this can be hard. It can be really hard, and it can be up and down, and but you got to hang on to those good moments and get through those difficult ones and try to learn from them.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to like fixed mindset and growth mindset.
Yeah.
Knowing, you might say I'm not good at XYZ, when that's really not true. You just need some more experience with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So for sure, having that growth mindset.
Yep.
How do you model calming techniques or self-care techniques in your own classroom for student teachers to observe?
Yeah. We've worked a lot in our school in general on being the calm in the classroom. So,
love that.
Yes. So when students get elevated and, something goes down and maybe you have a difficult student in that class, like just taking the temperature down, like you can really control that in your classroom and speaking in calm voices. And sometimes if I'm struggling, and maybe there's a student that really that day I'm struggling to get along with and struggling to help them, I utilize other teachers. Like we have a buddy system. And so, we're like, okay, I need you to go hang out in my co-teacher's classroom for a little bit. And sometimes that's more for me than for the child. Like we just need a break. And it's okay. We're all human, and
absolutely
certain kids are going to do things that on that day might really bother you, and you might feel like you're losing your calm. So it's best to send them somewhere where they can take a break from you. You can take a break. So I try to, encourage student teachers. That's okay. That's okay.
Yes, it's okay. Absolutely okay.
You can stop and take a breathing break. I had one student teacher that really liked that. That was a way that she got the class calm, and it worked.
Hey.
Using those breathing techniques, using that calm techniques. But I think trying to keep my calm and keep my pace is one of the things I've modeled for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last year, I worked in a school that required every teacher to have a peace corner.
Yes.
And I had moments where I needed it. So I would send the student, you're going to the peace corner, not as a punishment, but as a break for myself and you. We need a moment.
Yes.
And that happens. And, even after 13 years of teaching, that's still a thing I use today.
Yeah. We actually had a closet that we turned into a peace corner for teachers.
I love that.
So teachers could go take a break from there. You could even call admin and be like, I need 10 minutes in that peace room.
I am in the closet.
I need 10 minutes. And, we're humans.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to manage those emotions too.
Let's normalize peace closets.
Yes. I love that. Yes.
What do you think new music teachers most need to hear right now?
Yeah, I hear from a lot of student teachers sometimes that have done practicums and that a lot of negativity, like the teacher just kind of spews all their negativity about teaching. And yes, there are some difficult parts of the job, but I think they need to know, this is a really rewarding job. It can be really fun. It can be really rewarding. You can make a huge impact in the lives of students. And so I try to focus on that, and just teach them tools to build a successful program and rapport with their students and their classroom, so that it is a good experience. And that takes time. That first year, it could take you, I feel it takes 3 to 5 to really start building a program in the direction you want it.
Yes.
And it depends on what you walked into and what the kids were doing before you and who you're teaching with if you have a co-teacher. So there's lots of factors. So I try to tell teachers, you've got to give it time. You've got to give it time. Don't give up after that first year when there were so many things you didn't accomplish that you wanted to accomplish. You're not going to. When I came into my school, my students' skills were pretty low. And so it's taken us a long time to get them where we wanted them skill-wise.
Yeah.
And to learn how to teach them. And now, this year, I was looking at first grade, I'm done with all the lessons I did last year. What do I do now? And so we're like, we can move on. Because they were there. They were ready for the first time in 5 years.
Hey, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I tell my student teachers the same thing. I tell them, give it at least 3. 3 years. Stick with it for 3 years. Because that will tell you by the end of it, if you're still not happy, maybe explore middle school or something else.
Yeah.
But it absolutely takes time. They'll ask me, when does it get easy? And I'm like, It doesn't. When does it get more comfortable?
Yes.
After 3 years. Yeah.
Yes, that's very true.
I like that 3 to 5 window.
Yeah, I really think it takes that to build a strong program.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen a shift in the kinds of stressors or expectations placed on new teachers in the recent years?
Yeah, when I think about stressors, I think about testing, and that's really more for classroom teachers, but that spills into related arts because I know in our building, we've been very limited on what we can do extra, and they don't want to change the schedule, and because of testing or because of accommodations, things that kids have to have, just requirements. And that can make it hard on your program, especially if you are going to do performances. I do feel like I see more of administration deciding what performances you're going to do. And I think that's stressful.
That's
for some
interesting.
teachers.
Yeah.
Yes. You are going to do XYZ teaching here. That could be overwhelming for a new teacher. So I helped one student teacher kind of think through all that because we knew she was going to go into a job where every grade level every year had to perform. And so, yep. So, we taught through that before she left me, and we had at least done one musical with a grade level. So she's like, I know that one. I'm like, do that one.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just feel like there can be a lot of pressure put on you to perform, and it may not be your wheelhouse. And that can be a challenge to figure that out with an admin and well, what is your wheelhouse? And maybe you've got to accept this, but say, okay, but I want to move towards this. Again, that could take some time to build up what you want it to look like and to work with your admin on it.
Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier. It is absolutely okay to say no.
Yes.
And you can do so politely, maybe not this year, but I will consider that. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it is okay to say no.
Yeah. Do what you need to do in order to keep yourself grounded and all of those good things.
And what's your students are capable of.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I've seen programs where they're asking you to do things that they're not really capable of that yet. I've not been here long enough to produce that.
Correct.
So we need to do XYZ to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And admin, especially if they don't have a musical background, have no clue how much it takes to get to the, that level of performance. So
it can be your job to find a way to respectfully have that dialogue and conversation with your admin. And oftentimes, if you come in with a plan, a lot are more willing to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Okay, this is a doozy. What keeps you in the profession, and how do you pass that spark on? Yeah.
Again, it's a really rewarding job. There are many days that I'm like, I get paid to do this. Like, it's fun. I love working with kids. I think kids are just super fun, and they're still super funny. And so it's exciting. It's creative. You can tailor your lessons for your students. A lot of teachers now are being told they have to teach XYZ. We have frameworks and we have standards, but how we teach it is kind of up to us. And so you get that creativity still, which I think is a gift. And most musicians are going to want that. You might be the only place a kid succeeds.
Yeah.
We have a lot of kids who struggle with school, but in my room, they can be successful. That's true of my EL students. It might be the only place they hear Spanish for the day because we do a Spanish.
That's what I was about to say, is that's where I see my EL shine.
Yes.
I don't hear them talk any other time.
Yes. Yes. They're not as overwhelmed in your classroom.
Yeah.
They don't have to be if you create that environment. So, that keeps me going. I think it's such an impactful job. It's such an opportunity to impact your students for good. And that's really what keeps driving me. And that's what I push my student teachers, to think about. Like, what great impact you can make here. This might be their only exposure to music. When they leave us for middle school, they get to choose whether they want to do music or not. So we want this experience to be as rewarding and as fun and as connected to them as we can.
Yeah.
So that maybe they'll, even if they don't pursue music, they'll enjoy it. They'll appreciate it. They'll understand it, and they'll connect with it somehow.
Yeah.
They'll remember, oh, we made this connection in music class, And then hopefully you catch those kids that will go on and do music, and you've given them that good foundation.
Yeah. I think that's really important to emphasize because you may not realize it now, but you are the very start of somebody's musical journey.
Yeah.
And you think about, where you are as a music educator now.
Yeah.
And the journey that you went through, that's a process.
It is.
And to be the start of somebody's musical process, that's magical.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's a gift. I didn't get music in school until 5th grade. So my musical training was all at church. Prior to that. So I'm really, really grateful for that. But I remember that 5th grade music class.
Same. Yeah, 3rd to 5th grade. Oh, man, I begged my grandmother. I was raised by my grandparents, begged her for piano lessons. Never got them because she hated hers.
Oh,
and then 5th grade came along and I was like, trumpet,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something. And I think that I had incredible music teachers. Thankfully, I had great experiences. And that did push me to pursue it. It's been an incredible, this is my technically my 29th year if I had not taken a hiatus.
Right.
Yeah. But even when in my hiatus, I was still teaching.
Right.
So it was just more private.
And also children.
So,
yeah.
But I'm like, what job do you feel like you can do that long? And I don't think there's a ton of careers that you might stay in that long. So it's obviously it's a rewarding job. It
absolutely
really is.
Very cool. Well, that's all we have today for Cultivating Calm in the Classroom. So I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
I think all of this is going to be extremely helpful. And if you have any future student teachers that you think would benefit from this, please feel free to share.
Absolutely. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A big special thanks to 104 Farm. Located just 20 minutes outside of downtown Nashville in scenic Ashland City, 104 Farm is a true hidden gem. Nestled across 32 acres of serene farmland, it offers the perfect backdrop for grounding, meditation, and meaningful retreat experiences. With a variety of cozy cabin options for both individuals and groups, plus amenities like a cold plunge, a peaceful prayer labyrinth, and agrotherapy opportunities. It's a space built for restoration and reflection. Take a hike through the valley with winding creeks, and be sure to check out the wood-burning sauna for a truly grounding experience. I'm incredibly grateful to 104 Farm for providing the recording space for the very first episode of Cultivating Calm in the Classroom. The peaceful energy truly helped set the tone for the work that followed. It's also home to Nashville Dog Adventures, hands down the best spot to board your pup when you're away. To learn more or plan your retreat, check them out. A link to their website is in the show notes. Check them out. You won't regret it.